The massive Imperial scout ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Saul system. Its silver hull gleamed in the distant sunlight as it moved past Neptune's orbit. Inside the ship, Commander Hall of the Galactic Empire smiled with satisfaction. Another primitive system to add to their collection. Send the standard greeting message, he ordered his communications officer. Make sure to emphasize our 10,000 years of peaceful rule. Admiral James Walker stood in Earth's Defense Command Center, watching the alien vessels approach on the main screen. After 30 years in the United Earth Defense Force, he had trained for this moment his entire career. The room fell silent as the alien message began playing. Greetings, inhabitants of Sol 3. We are representatives of the great Galactic Empire, rulers of 10,000 star systems. We bring you peace and prosperity through integration into our mighty empire. Prepare your leaders for peaceful surrender and acceptance of Imperial rule. Walker's face remained calm, but his eyes hardened. They don't even bother learning our planet's name, he muttered. Around him, the command staff waited tensely. They all knew the plan, but theory and practice were different things. Sir, Lieutenant Adams called out, the alien vessel matches the designs our stealth probes observed in the Empire's territory. Class 4 scout ship, minimal weapons. They're not expecting any resistance. Walker nodded. Earth had been watching the Empire for 50 years, gathering intelligence through quantum-cloaked observation posts. They knew exactly what they were dealing with. Send our response, Walker ordered. Let's see how they handle rejection. On the Imperial scout ship, Commander Hall nearly spilled his drink when the response came through. Instead of the usual terrified acceptance or confused babbling, a clear message played in perfect Imperial standard. Attention Imperial vessel. This is Admiral James Walker of the United Earth Defense Force. We are aware of your Empire's history and methods. We reject your offer of integration. You have 1 hour to leave the Saul system. This is not negotiable. How dare they? Hall sputtered. And how do they know our language so well? He turned to his tactical officer. Scan their planet. Show these primitives what they're dealing with. The scanner beams shot toward Earth, only to disappear into nothing halfway there. Hall stared at his instruments in confusion. What happened? Sir, his science officer reported, it appears they have some kind of quantum interference field. Our scans can't penetrate it. Impossible. Hall slammed his fist on his command chair. These primitives shouldn't have that technology. Send another message. Tell them their defiance will bring consequences. Back on Earth, Walker watched the Imperial ship's frustrated attempts to scan the planet. The quantum shield network was performing perfectly, just as Dr. Reed had promised it would. Sir, Lieutenant Adams reported, they're broadcasting again. The Imperial commander's angry face appeared on screen. Your defiance is noted. Sol 3. The Empire does not take rejection lightly. Our main fleet will arrive soon to show you the error of your ways. Surrender now and save yourselves the humiliation. Walker allowed himself a small smile. Send visual response, my feed only. The Imperial commander's eyes widened as Walker's image appeared on his screen. The human was wearing a simple blue uniform with minimal decorations, nothing like the ornate Imperial style. Commander, Walker said calmly, we've been watching your empire for half a century. We know your tactics, your technology, and your true history. The Sol system is off limits to your kind. Bring your fleet if you must. But know this, you will not find us as helpless as the other worlds you've conquered. He ended the transmission and turned to his staff. Signal all defense platforms. Set Condition 1 throughout the system, and get me a direct line to the Council. They'll want to know the Empire arrived ahead of schedule. As the Imperial scout ship turned and fled toward the system's edge, Walker watched the tactical display light up as Earth's hidden defenses came online. Automated weapon platforms emerged from quantum fields around every major planet and moon. The Sol system's true face was revealing itself. The war for Earth's independence was about to begin, but humanity had been preparing for this moment for 50 years. The Galactic Empire was about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating primitive species. 3 days after the scout ship's retreat, the Imperial battle fleet arrived at the edge of the Saul system. 100 warships dropped out of hyperspace, their metal hulls blocking out the distant stars. At the fleet's center, the massive command ship, Imperial Glory, dwarfed its escorts. Fleet Admiral Ross of the Empire stood on his bridge, watching the tactical display with confidence. This primitive world dares to challenge us. Let's show them what real power looks like. In Earth's Defense Command, Admiral Walker studied the Imperial fleet's formation. Just like our intelligence reported, he said to Dr. Anna Reed, who stood beside him. They always use the same attack pattern. Dr. Reed nodded, her fingers moving quickly across her tablet. The quantum shield network is at full power. They won't know what hit them. All defense stations report ready, Lieutenant Adams announced. Automated platforms are armed and tracking. The Imperial fleet moved forward in perfect formation, their weapons charging. Fleet Admiral Ross smiled as his ships approached Mars. No signs of resistance yet. These humans are all talk. His words cut off as the first wave of Earth's defense platforms emerged from their quantum fields around Mars. Dozens of satellites, each bristling with weapons Earth had developed by studying Imperial technology, appeared as if from nowhere. Impossible, Ross shouted. Where did those come from? Open fire. The Imperial ships launched their energy weapons, but the beams scattered harmlessly against quantum shields protecting Earth's platforms. Then humanity showed its true strength. The defense platforms activated their gravity manipulation weapons. Concentrated beams of distorted space-time struck the Imperial ships. Metal hulls crumpled as artificial gravity wells formed inside the vessels. Ships that had survived thousands of battles were crushed like empty cans. Status report, Ross demanded, watching in horror as his fleet was torn apart. We've lost 30 ships already. His tactical officer reported. Their weapons, they're like nothing we've ever seen. In the command center, Walker watched the battle through the AI-assisted combat system. Launch Phase 2, he ordered calmly. Earth's automated fighters emerged from hidden bases on Mars and its moons. Small, fast, and controlled by advanced AI, they swarmed the Imperial vessels. Their quantum-tipped missiles bypassed Imperial shields as if they weren't there. This is impossible, Ross screamed as another wave of ships fell to Earth's defenses. They're supposed to be primitives. How do they have technology we've never seen? Dr. Reed allowed herself a small smile as she watched the battle. 50 years of preparation, she said quietly. We learned from every species you conquered, studied your weaknesses, and developed countermeasures for everything you have. The Imperial fleet tried to regroup, but Earth's defenses had been carefully planned. Every attempt to form up was met by precisely placed gravity weapons. Every retreat route was covered by automated platforms. The AI combat systems predicted and countered every standard Imperial tactic. After just 30 minutes, 60 Imperial ships had been destroyed. The rest were damaged and struggling to maintain position. The mighty Imperial fleet, terror of 1,000 worlds, was being systematically taken apart by the primitives they had come to conquer. Fleet Admiral Ross stared at his tactical display in shock. 2/3 of his fleet was gone, and the rest were calling for retreat. Fall back, he finally ordered. All ships, emergency withdraw. The surviving Imperial ships turned and fled, their once perfect formation now a chaotic retreat. As they ran, Walker sent one final message to the Imperial flagship. Remember this day, Admiral. Remember what happened when you thought Earth would be an easy conquest. The Saul system is off limits to the Empire. Next time, we won't be so gentle. As the Imperial ships vanished into hyperspace, Dr. Reed turned to Walker. They'll be back, she said. With a bigger fleet. Walker nodded. Yes, they will. But now, they know we're not helpless, and we have more surprises waiting for them. Around Mars, Earth's defense platforms disappeared back behind our quantum fields, hiding once again in plain sight. The first battle was over, but the war was just beginning. Humanity had revealed some of its strength, but plenty of secrets remained. The Empire's education in human ingenuity was far from complete. 1 week after the battle at Mars, a single Imperial diplomatic vessel approached Earth's orbit. Unlike the warships, this one was smaller and decorated with golden symbols of peace. Inside the ship, Master Diplomat Gray of the Empire prepared his best diplomatic face. After losing 60 ships to these humans, the Empire needed to understand what they were dealing with. Ambassador Thomas More waited in the newly completed Space Diplomatic Center. His team had spent years studying Imperial diplomatic records, learning their tricks and tactics. The room was deliberately designed to be simple but impressive, with large windows showing Earth below. The Imperial delegation arrived in their elaborate ceremonial robes, expecting to find primitive humans awed by their presence. Instead, they found Moore and his team dressed in simple but elegant uniforms, looking completely at ease. "Welcome to Earth," Moore said in perfect Imperial standard. "I trust your journey through our defense grid was comfortable." Gray tried to hide his surprise at Moore's perfect accent. "Yes, quite comfortable, though your defensive measures seem rather excessive." Moore smiled. "Not excessive. Necessary. Please, have a seat. Would you like some water from our elves, or perhaps tea from our gardens?" The Imperial diplomats sat down, trying to take control of the conversation. "We are here," Gray announced, "to discuss your unfortunate resistance to Imperial protection. Surely we can reach an arrangement." "Before we begin," Moore said, pressing a button on the table, "let me show you something." A holographic display appeared in the center of the room. "This is footage from our stealth observation posts throughout your empire. We've been watching you for 50 years. The diplomats stared in shock as they saw secret Imperial military bases, classified meetings, and private conversations between Imperial leaders. Everything Earth shouldn't have known about. "Impossible," Gray whispered. "Our security is based on technology we surpassed decades ago," Moore finished. "But that's not the important part. Let's talk about these." New images appeared, showing Imperial ships attacking peaceful worlds, destroying civilizations that refused to submit. "These are internal Imperial matters," Gray said stiffly. "You have no right." "We have every right," Moore cut in. "You came to our system, demanded our surrender, and attacked when we refused. But unlike those other worlds, we were ready for you." In Earth's Defense Command, Admiral Walker and Dr. Reed watched the diplomatic meeting through hidden cameras. "They're following the exact negotiation pattern we predicted," Walker noted. "Of course they are," Dr. Reed replied. "They've used the same diplomatic tactics for 500 years. Why change what usually works?" Back in the diplomatic center, Gray was trying a different approach. "Perhaps we could discuss technology sharing. Your quantum shields and gravity weapons are impressive. The Empire could offer much in exchange." Moore shook his head. "We're not interested in exchanges. We're here to set terms." He pressed another button, and a new hologram appeared, showing the boundaries of the Saul system. "This entire region is now off-limits to the Empire. No ships, no probes, no surveillance." "Preposterous." Gray stood up, his diplomatic mask cracking. "You can't ban the Empire from an entire sector. We already have." Moore remained seated, calm. "Your fleet's defeat wasn't luck or even superior technology. It was 50 years of preparation. We know everything about you. Your tactics, your technology, your secrets. We even know about the fleet you're gathering for another attack." The Imperial diplomats shifted uncomfortably. That fleet was supposed to be a secret. "Here's what's going to happen," Moore continued. "You're going to leave. You're going to tell your leaders that Earth and the entire Sol system are forbidden territory. If you come back with another fleet, you'll lose more than just ships." "The Empire does not respond well to threats," Gray said coldly. "This isn't a threat." Moore stood up slowly. "It's a promise. We've watched you bully and destroy other civilizations for 50 years. That ends here. Earth is drawing a line. Cross it again, and you'll learn just how many surprises we still have waiting." As the Imperial diplomats left, Moore looked out at Earth below. The Empire wouldn't give up easily, he knew. But humanity was ready. After 50 years of watching, learning, and preparing, they were finally showing the galaxy that not every species would bow to Imperial demands. General Maria Torres stood before the United Earth Council, her uniform crisp and neat. The massive chamber was packed with representatives from every nation on Earth. On screens above, billions of people watched from their homes. This was the moment when humanity would officially challenge the Empire. "The Soul defense strategy is ready," she announced, her voice clear and strong. "Our quantum defense network now extends 50 light-years in all directions. Any Imperial ship entering this zone will be detected and intercepted." In the front row, Admiral Walker and Dr. Reed watched as holographic maps appeared, showing Earth's new defensive boundary. It was the largest protected zone any species had ever claimed against the Empire. "This is madness," the Imperial observer shouted from his seat. "You cannot claim such a vast region of space." "We already have," Torres replied calmly. "Our automated defense platforms are in position. Our AI networks are active. The Saul exclusion zone is now a reality." In the Imperial Palace, 1,000 light-years away, the Emperor himself watched the broadcast with his council. Their faces showed a mix of rage and disbelief as Torres continued her speech. "For too long, the Empire has bullied smaller civilizations into submission. They call it protection. They call it peace. We call it what it is: conquest and slavery." The Emperor's face turned dark with anger. How dare these primitives speak to us this way? Back on Earth, Torres activated another hologram. This one showed Imperial ships attacking peaceful worlds, exactly as Earth's stealth probes had recorded them. "We have proof of the Empire's true nature. They say they bring peace, but they bring only submission. They demand surrender, then strip worlds of their resources." In hidden bases throughout the Sol system, automated factories continued producing quantum-shielded defense platforms. AI-controlled construction ships deployed them in a growing network around Earth's claimed space. "Humanity will no longer stand by and watch," Torres declared. "The Sol exclusion zone is more than just a defensive measure. It is a statement to the galaxy, a statement that says, 'Enough.'" The Imperial observer stood up again. "The Empire will not recognize this illegal claim. We will." "You will do nothing," Torres cut him off. "Your fleet already tested our defenses. 60 ships lost in 30 minutes. That was just around Mars. Imagine what would happen if you faced our full defensive network." In the Imperial Palace, the Emperor's advisors were frantically showing him reports about Earth's technology: quantum shields that made ships invisible, gravity weapons that ignored Imperial defenses, AI systems that could predict and counter any Imperial tactic. "How did they develop all this?" the Emperor demanded. "We have watched you for 50 years, Torres continued, as if answering his question. "While you thought we were primitive, we studied your every weakness. While you conquered other worlds, we prepared our defenses. The Sol system will never bow to Imperial rule." She pressed a button, and new holograms appeared, showing Earth's defensive capabilities: quantum shields that could hide entire planets, gravity weapons that could tear apart Imperial ships, automated defense platforms that could think and fight better than any Imperial crew. "This is our formal declaration," Torres announced. "The Sol exclusion zone is now active. Any Imperial military vessel entering this space will be destroyed. Any Imperial attempt to bypass our defenses will be met with force. Earth is off-limits to the Empire. This is not a request. This is not a negotiation. This is a fact." In defense centers throughout the solar system, officers watched their displays light up as the full defensive network came online. Quantum fields shimmed into existence, Hiding Earth's true military strength, AI systems began their endless watch for Imperial intrusion. Remember this day, Taurus concluded. Remember it as the day when humanity said no to Imperial expansion. When one world stood up and showed the galaxy that the Empire is not invincible. The Sol system is closed to you. Test our resolve at your own risk. As Taurus finished speaking, the Imperial observer stormed out of the chamber. But he had seen enough to know that these humans were different. They weren't just refusing Imperial rule. They were challenging the Empire's very way of life. And they had the technology and determination to back up their bold claims. Captain Robert Smith stood on the bridge of the EDS Defiant, Earth's newest battleship, as the quantum sensors picked up the Imperial fleet's approach. This wasn't a small attack force like last time. This was the Empire's main battle fleet, over 500 warships strong. They really brought everything, his first officer commented, watching the massive fleet drop out of hyperspace at the edge of the Saul exclusion zone. Just as we expected, Smith replied calmly. The Defiant sat hidden behind its quantum shields, one of 50 Earth ships waiting in prepared positions. Around them, thousands of automated defense platforms were ready. In Earth's Defense Command, Admiral Walker watched the tactical display with Dr. Reed and General Torres. They're using their new formation, Torres noted. The 1-hour probes spotted them practicing. It won't help them, Reed said, checking her tablets. The AI has already calculated counters for every variation. The Imperial fleet moved forward in waves, led by their new flagship, the Planet Breaker. Its massive hull stretched 20 kilometers, bristling with weapons that could shatter worlds. The Empire had brought their ultimate weapon to crush Earth's defiance. This is your final warning. The Imperial Admiral's message boomed across space. Surrender now, or we will destroy your entire system. Walker picked up the comm. You're in restricted space, Admiral. Turn back now. You had your chance for peace. The Imperial Admiral's voice was full of rage. All ships, open fire. Burn their worlds to ash. The Imperial fleet launched their attack, thousands of energy beams and missiles streaking toward the solar system. But Earth was ready. The quantum shield network activated, and massive sections of space simply disappeared from view, swallowing the Imperial attacks into nothingness. All ships, execute Battle Plan Delta, Smith ordered from the Defiant. Show them what Earth can really do. Earth's 50 ships decloaked simultaneously, appearing in perfect positions to strike at the Imperial fleet's weak points. Their gravity weapons activated, creating artificial black holes that torn apart Imperial ships. The Defiant led the charge, its advanced weapons cutting through Imperial shields like they weren't there. Impossible, the Imperial Admiral shouted as his ships began exploding. Where did those ships come from? How are they predicting our every move? Earth's automated defense platforms joined the battle, their AI minds coordinating perfectly with the human crews. Imperial ships found themselves caught in crossfires, their formations disrupted by gravity weapons, their shots absorbed by quantum shields. Sir, Smith's tactical officer called out. The Planet Breaker is charging its main gun. The massive Imperial flagship's weapon began to glow, ready to demonstrate why it was feared across the galaxy. But Earth had planned for this too. Execute Special Command Alpha, Walker ordered from Defense Command. Hidden quantum fields dropped around Jupiter's moons, revealing thousands of gravity projectors. They activated simultaneously, creating a massive gravitational lens that caught the Planet Breaker's beam and reflected it back at the Imperial fleet. The Empire's own superweapon carved through their ships, cutting their fleet in half. The Planet Breaker itself barely survived, its hull scarred by its own power. How? The Imperial Admiral's voice shook. How did you do that? 50 years of preparation, Walker replied simply. And you just saw barely half of what we can do. Still want to test our defenses. The battle lasted less than an hour. When it was over, 300 Imperial ships lay destroyed or crippled. The rest, including the damaged planet breaker, fled in panic, their perfect formation now a scrambling retreat. On the Defiance Bridge, Smith watched them run. Think they'll finally get the message? If they don't, his first officer replied, we still have plenty of surprises waiting. Back in Defense Command, Walker, Reed, and Torres watched the Imperial ships vanish into hyperspace. They had just defeated the Empire's main fleet, but they knew this wasn't over. The Empire's pride wouldn't let them accept this defeat easily. Begin recharging all defense platforms, Walker ordered, and activate the quantum probes. Let's see how the Empire explains this defeat to their people. Earth had won its greatest battle yet, but the war for true independence was far from over. Still, they had shown the galaxy something important. The mighty Empire could be beaten, and humanity knew exactly how to do it. Jack Wilson sat in his hidden office on the planet Centauri Prime, watching dozens of holographic screens. Each one showed different scenes from across the Empire. Protests, rebellions, and uprising on various worlds. News of Earth's victory over the Imperial main fleet had spread like wildfire through the galaxy. Another success on Rigel 4, his assistant reported. The local resistance used our quantum shields to hide their forces. The Imperial garrison had no chance. Wilson nodded, a small smile on his face. After Earth's victory, he had been put in charge of helping other worlds fight back against the Empire. Earth's advanced technology, shared carefully with trusted resistance groups, was changing the balance of power across the galaxy. On the Imperial capital world, the Emperor watched his own screens with growing horror. Reports were coming in from every sector, planets declaring independence, Imperial garrisons being overthrown, entire star systems cutting off contact with Imperial control. How are they doing this? He demanded of his advisors. How are all these primitives suddenly fighting back? One advisor nervously stepped forward. My Emperor, we've detected quantum signatures similar to Earth's technology on many worlds. It seems they're helping the others. In Earth's Defense Command, Admiral Walker and General Torres reviewed Wilson's latest reports. 23 systems have declared independence in the past week, Torres said. The Empire is losing control faster than they can respond. And our stealth ships? Walker asked. In position near every major Imperial fleet, Torres confirmed. If they try to crush any rebellion too harshly, we'll be ready to step in. Back on Centauri Prime, Wilson met with representatives from 30 different resistance movements. The meeting room was secured by quantum fields, making it invisible to Imperial spies. Earth doesn't want to rule you, Wilson explained to the gathered aliens. We just want to help you be free. Our technology is yours to use in your fight for independence. A tall blue-skinned leader stood up. But how can we fight? Our world has been under Imperial control for 500 years. We don't have Earth's military strength. Wilson activated a hologram showing Earth's battle with the Imperial fleet. You don't need massive fleets. Look how we beat them, with smart planning, advanced technology, and surprise. The Empire is strong because everyone thinks they're unbeatable. Earth proved they're not. Across the galaxy, Imperial control was crumbling. Worlds that had been conquered centuries ago were rising up, using Earth's quantum shields and gravity weapons to fight back. The Empire's usual tactics didn't work against enemies they couldn't find. On a mining world in the Orient sector, workers stormed the Imperial governor's palace using portable quantum shields. On a farming planet near the Galactic core, resistance fighters used gravity weapons to disable Imperial tanks. Everywhere, the story was the same. The oppressed were learning they could fight back. The Empire's making a big push in the Vega sector, Wilson's assistant reported. 300 ships heading to crush the rebellion there. Wilson pressed a button on his desk. Alert Earth Defense Command. And get me contact with the Vegan resistance leaders. Time to show the Empire another surprise. When the Imperial fleet arrived at Vega, they found nothing. No rebels, no cities, no signs of civilization. The entire population had vanished behind quantum shields, along with their resources and weapons. The Empire had sent a huge fleet to fight an enemy they couldn't even find. In his office, Wilson watched the Imperial fleet's confusion with satisfaction. "Send the next package of shield generators to the Andromeda sector," he ordered, "and make sure the Pleiades resistance gets those AI combat systems they requested." The Empire had ruled through fear for 10,000 years, but Earth had shown the galaxy a new way: how to hide, how to fight back, how to win. The age of Imperial dominance was ending, not with a massive space battle, but with hundreds of small victories across thousands of worlds. "Another world just declared independence," Wilson's assistant reported. "The Imperial garrison surrendered without a fight." Wilson nodded. Earth's victory wasn't just about military strength. It was about showing the galaxy that resistance was possible. The Empire was learning a hard lesson. Once people stopped being afraid, their power began to crumble. Director Laura Grant stood at the podium in the newly built Galactic Assembly on Earth. Representatives from over 300 formerly Imperial worlds filled the massive chamber. Above them, quantum shields created a transparent dome showing the stars, the same technology that had helped win their freedom. "1 year ago, Earth stood alone against the Empire," she began. "Today, we stand together as free worlds." In the front row, Admiral Walker, Dr. Reed, General Torres, and Jack Wilson watched with pride. Their different roles, military, scientific, strategic, and covert, had all led to this moment. The Emperor himself sat in a special section, his once grand robes now simple, his expression struggling to hide his disbelief. Around him, the few worlds that remained under Imperial control watched through holographic feeds. "The Free Systems Alliance is not an empire," Grant continued. "We are a confederation of independent worlds. Each planet governs itself. Each species chooses its own path. We stand together not through force, but through choice." On thousands of worlds, billions of beings watched the broadcast. Former Imperial citizens, now free to choose their own destiny, listened as Grant outlined the new galactic order. "Earth's quantum shields will protect all member worlds," she explained. "Our gravity weapons will defend our borders. But more importantly, we will share knowledge, trade freely, and respect each other's independence." The Emperor stood up suddenly. "You cannot simply erase 10,000 years of Imperial rule. The galaxy needs order. The galaxy needs freedom," Grant replied calmly. "Look around you. Your empire isn't falling because we destroyed it. It's falling because your subjects chose something better." On the screens, images showed the changes across the galaxy. Imperial statues being peacefully removed. Former garrison worlds transformed into trading hubs. Species that had been enemies under Imperial rule now working together. "Humanity never wanted to rule the galaxy," Grant continued. "When we banned the Empire from Earth, we didn't know we would start a revolution. We just wanted to be free. But we learned that true freedom must be shared." A tall alien stood up, the leader of a species that had been among the first to rebel. "Earth showed us we could resist. But more importantly, they showed us we could work together. The Empire kept us divided. The Alliance makes us stronger." The Emperor watched as more representatives stood, each telling their story of liberation. His empire had ruled through fear and division. Earth had won through unity and hope. "The Saul exclusion zone is now part of something greater," Grant announced. "The Free Systems Alliance stands ready to welcome any world that chooses independence. And yes," she looked directly at the Emperor, "that includes your remaining worlds, should they choose to join us." In Defense Command, operators watched as more quantum shield networks activated across the galaxy. Earth's technology now protected hundreds of worlds, all linked in a defensive grid that made Imperial invasion impossible. "The age of empires is over," Grant declared. "The galaxy is too vast, too diverse for any one power to rule. The Alliance offers a different path: unity through freedom, strength through cooperation." The Emperor stood again, but this time his voice was quieter. "And if we refuse, if the Empire chooses to fight, Then the Empire will fight alone. Grant replied, "Your subject worlds are free. Your fleets are scattered. Your power was based on fear, and we have shown the galaxy there is nothing to fear." She turned back to the assembled representatives. "Together, we have changed the galaxy. Not through conquest, but through courage. Not through domination, but through determination. Earth banned the Empire not just from our system, but from the future itself." The chamber erupted in applause. On countless worlds, crowds celebrated. The empire that had ruled for 10,000 years had been defeated not by a bigger empire, but by the simple desire to be free. As the ceremony ended, Admiral Walker looked out at the stars through the quantum shield dome. "Think they'll ever try to take it all back?" he asked Grant. She smiled. "They can try. But the galaxy has changed. The Empire ruled through fear. Earth won through hope. And hope, Admiral, is a far stronger force than fear." In the distance, Earth's defense platforms maintained their endless watch, quantum shields shimmering in the starlight. The Empire was done, and a new age of freedom had begun.